At the banquet in my previous life, our families needed an alliance through marriage, and my brother asked me whom I wished to choose. Without hesitation, I picked my seemingly carefree childhood friend Gupeji, yet after our wedding, he maintained ties with his first love, and they even had a child together. When his buddies teased him, he sneered, "When Chiwu is the world's ultimate simp, no matter what I do, she'll never leave me." My heart finally turned to ice as I walked away. But then a car crash on the highway claimed 2 lives in one tragic blow. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the banquet. "Chiwu, have you decided who you'll choose?" my brother asked me softly. I stood there trembling, still unwilling to believe that rebirth could actually happen to me. Before I could respond, Auntie Gu stepped forward and handed me their family heirloom bracelet. She smiled gently and said, "Wu will definitely choose our boy. They've grown up together since childhood, their bond is deeper than anyone else's." "Mom, are you drunk already?" "Without even drinking, who'd want to marry Wen Chiwu? She's a poor student, short, and her looks are just average. Marry her, she'd taint our Gu family's genes." Gupeji frowned, his gaze toward me tinged with disgust. Just like in my previous life, his tongue was as sharp as ever, but in my last life, I simply thought it was because we'd been bickering since childhood. And never realized, Gupeji genuinely loathes me at this moment. Snapping back to reality, I immediately took 2 steps back. "Aunt Gu, Peji and I are just friends." As the words hung in the air, the surrounding crowd fell silent instantly. Everyone knows the Wen and Gu families have been close for generations. Everyone also knows I've had a crush on Gupeji since we were kids. Mrs. Gu's face stiffened. She averted her gaze from me and gave her son a firm pat on the shoulder. "Don't talk nonsense. Having Wu marry into our family is a blessing we earned through lifetimes of good karma." Gupeji seemed taken aback by my words, his already icy expression turning several degrees colder. Trembling, I clutched my brother's suit jacket and whispered with red-rimmed eyes, "I'm not feeling well, I want to go home, the arranged marriage can wait." My brother had just raised his hand to summon someone to take me back first. The next instant, Gupeji grabbed my hand and abruptly pulled me outside, his voice icy as he said, "Brother Chiyu, I'll take Wu home." He held my hand so tightly that I couldn't break free. I wanted to call for help, but when I turned my head, I saw Gu's mother already standing in front of my brother. Once we stepped out of the hotel, Gupeji unhesitatingly shook off my hand. My high heels made me stagger backward uncontrollably, and I instinctively reached out toward him, caught off guard. Gupeji barely had time to extend his hand to catch me. I quickly snatched my hand back and landed hard on the ground. A sharp pain shot through my head, making me scrunch up my face. Gupeji's expression changed as he stepped forward to help me up. Without hesitation, I blurted out, "Stay away from me." Coming to my senses, I slipped off my high heels and pushed myself up from the ground with both hands. This chain of reactions made Gupeji's face darken completely. He sneered. "What kind of game are you playing now? Playing hard to get? Wen Chiwu, when did your tricks become so disgusting?" I lifted my head, tears welling in my eyes that I hadn't even noticed. "Gupeji," I had so much I wanted to say, but when I met his gaze, the disgust in his eyes made every word feel like a thorn lodged in my throat. I lowered my head and let out a bitter laugh, without waiting for his response. I tossed the designer heels worth thousands to the ground and walked away barefoot without hesitation. These were the shoes Gupeji gave me for my coming-of-age ceremony. Aunt Gu mentioned he spent ages carefully selecting these shoes. Knowing how important tonight's banquet was, I deliberately chose to wear this pair, but I forgot they're a size too big. They were never meant for me. Just like I forgot that someone who doesn't fit will never fit, no matter what. Gupeji didn't follow me, to him. This was just another one of my calculated games, playing hard to get. When I got home, I sank into the bathtub and began to drift off. My mind kept replaying everything that had happened in my previous life. My hands involuntarily gripped the edge of the bathtub, water rose to my nose, and I choked violently several times before fully ing up and climbing out, wrapping myself in a bathrobe. I stared at my reflection in the mirror. This face showed no signs of burns, nothing at all. I touched my face, bowing my head as I wept with choked sobs. In our past life, when the Gu residence caught fire, Gupeji didn't hesitate to rescue his beloved while abandoning me. I was left behind, and by the time someone finally saved me, my face was already disfigured beyond recognition. Afterwards, Gupeji tried to explain, "I didn't see you there, with Anan's legs trapped and the flames spreading so fast. I had to prioritize saving her first." At this memory, I raised my hand and slapped myself hard across the face. How pathetic. In my past life I was gullible as a dog, completely manipulated by Gupéji's smooth talk. It must be because I've been reborn. All night long, I kept reliving scenes from my past life in restless dreams, and woke up this morning feeling completely drained and unwell, perhaps sensing that something was off with me last night. My brother, who would normally have left for work long ago, was waiting downstairs for me. Come have breakfast when you're awake. My brother noticed the dark circles under my eyes, his expression softening with concern. Did I wake you when I came home last night? I shook my head, tears welling up as I rushed into his arms. I wrapped my arms tightly around my brother. He froze for a moment, then set aside the newspaper and began gently patting my back. He whispered softly, "If loving that boy from the Gu family is too exhausting, maybe it's better to let go. Even if you never marry in this lifetime, your brother will always be here to take care of you." I sniffled, my voice choked with emotion. There was never any arranged marriage to begin with. My brother saw how I felt about Gupéji and orchestrated the whole thing. I remembered how in my past life, my brother died saving me. My chest tightened with pain as I held him closer, until a faint cough stirred me from sleep. With red-rimmed eyes, I glanced back over my shoulder. A man had taken a seat on the sofa at some point. Tears welled up in my eyes, blurring my vision of the person before me. The man curled his lips into a smile and said, "Good morning, little princess." I froze for a moment, then quickly pushed myself out of my brother's embrace as I realized the man in front of me was Fu Hanqing, my brother's closest friend, after my brother passed away. Fu Hanqing avenged him by taking the life of the murderer. The last time I saw him, he was in prison. He said he wanted to get me out of there, and that there was more to my brother's death than met the eye. I was completely deluded, always believing someone I'd known for decades couldn't possibly turn out that way. By the time I came to my senses and thought of him, I was already in a car crash on the highway, struggling through a difficult labor. Suddenly, it dawned on me that the last sound I heard before dying was, "What are you doing here?" I asked in astonishment. At this hour, he should still be sleeping after last night's wild partying. Fu Hanqing raised an eyebrow with a light chuckle. Ahem. My brother cleared his throat softly, gesturing with his eyes toward the breakfast. I nodded and sat down to eat breakfast, occasionally glancing back at the man behind me. After eating for a while, my brother hesitated for a moment before speaking up. "Chiwu, has Peiji been upsetting you lately?" I looked at my brother, not quite grasping what he meant. My brother opened his phone and pulled up Peiji's latest WeChat post. It was a photo from a mountaintop, shrouded in mist, with the caption, "What do I do? I've upset the little princess. How should I make it up to her?" I instinctively tightened my grip on the spoon, my entire body trembling in a way I hadn't even noticed. In my past life, it was all because of that social media post. That made me believe Gupéji had feelings for me too. Only later did I realize the little princess he kept mentioning was his beloved Nan Wu, never me. The once delicious congee now tasted like wax in my mouth. I can't eat or swallow anything. I lowered my gaze and spoke with a trembling voice. "Brother, I don't want to talk about Gupéji anymore. In this lifetime, I never want to have anything to do with Gupéji again. 20 years of loving him was just me being delusional." My brother froze for a moment. Without a word, he opened Gupéji's chat history. The messages showed my brother asking him about my whereabouts. After a quick glance, he blocked and deleted the contact without hesitation. He smiled gently and said, "As long as I'm here, no one will ever mistreat you." My eyes welled up with tears as I looked at my brother. He's always been like this, choosing me without hesitation. When I liked Gupéji, he paved the way for me. When I didn't like him, he handled it for me. After we finished breakfast, my brother took me to the company, which was originally meant to be passed down to me, but because I married Gupéji, I always wanted to give all my time to Gupéji. I barely ever showed up at the company, which led to a lot of problems piling up at work. In the end, my brother had to come back to the country to sort things out. Everyone knows I have feelings for Gupéji. Someone quietly handed me a special poster of Gupéji, but a hand snatched it back before I could take it. I looked up and saw Fu Hanqing crumple the poster into a ball and throw it in the trash. My brother added, "From now on, nothing related to Gupéji is allowed in this company." It suddenly dawned on me that Gupéji was a celebrity. Once we entered the office, my brother instructed his assistant again, "Spread the word, take down all posters of Gupéji, and also, brother." "There's no need for that," I interrupted. "After all, we still have business dealings with the Gu family, not to mention the relationship between our two families. My brother noticed my concern. He shook his head with a light laugh and said, "I told you I wouldn't let you be wronged." With that, he motioned for his assistant to proceed as instructed. My brother had an impromptu meeting, leaving just Fu Hanqing and me alone in the entire office. We hadn't interacted much before. The only thing I knew about him was that he'd been carrying a torch for someone for years, but my love remains unrequited. I heard they already have someone else in their heart. Feeling his gaze fixed on me, I turned away uncomfortably. Moments later, my phone rang from inside my bag. Pulling it out, I stared at the screen for a few seconds before hanging up without hesitation. Fu Hanqing raised an eyebrow with a light chuckle. "Not going to answer it, spam call," I said coldly. My expression hardening. Moments later, a text message arrived on my phone. "I'm sick, bring me some medicine," followed by a hotel room number. I frowned at my phone, completely unaware that Fu Hanqing had already stood up. By the time I realized it, Fu Hanqing raised an eyebrow with a teasing grin. "Oh, who's sending our little princess a room number?" I've always been very security conscious. I could always sense Gu Peiji's presence the moment he approached, but this time I was visibly startled. Gasping for breath in ragged heaves, Fu Hanqing seemed equally caught off guard, handing me water while quipping with a teasing smirk, "This room number looks familiar. Isn't this the young Master Gu's private suite?" Every scion from an affluent family has their own reserved VIP rooms and private spaces wherever they go. Gu Peiqing's room number is 0726. I never noticed a thing back then. It suddenly dawned on me that the room number was Nanwu's birthday. My fingers trembled ceaselessly. Fu Hanqing, who had been teasing me moments before, immediately sensed something was wrong. He frowned and asked tentatively, "What's wrong? Did that punk from the Gu family bully you?" I may not have many talents, but I sure know how to throw a punch. I shook my head gently. I immediately blocked and deleted Gu Peiji's number. Someone who no longer matters isn't worth getting hurt over. I looked up at Fu Hanqing. His gaze was practically flirtatious, making me blush under his intense stare. Fu Hanqing clearly wasn't buying it. Gu Peiji was still waiting for the medication at the hotel. His argument with Wen Qiwu had been witnessed by someone yesterday, and someone in the group immediately chimed in teasingly, "Oh ho, looks like the childhood sweethearts are calling it quits. Princess Wen seems really pissed off this time. Peiji, stop getting on Qiwu's nerves all the time. One day she'll give you the cold shoulder and you'll live to regret it." Scrolling through the group chat messages, Gu Peiji let out a cold, mocking laugh. Having known Wen Qiwu since childhood, he was fully aware of her temperament. Once she delivered the medicine, he could just buy some trinket to placate her, and she'd still follow him around like a lovesick puppy. He'd pulled this stunt thousands of times before. Gu Peiji was getting fed up. He lounged lazily on the sofa, scrolling through videos for over half an hour while still waiting for his medication. People in the group chat were still spectating and asking if the medicine had been delivered. The constant stream of messages pushed Gu Peiji to his breaking point. He immediately closed the video app, opened the pinned contact, hesitated for a moment, and made the call, but the moment the call connected, he heard the disconnected tone. Gu Peiji froze in disbelief. He stared at his phone for a moment, then dialed the number again. The call still wouldn't go through. Young Master Gu had never been blocked by anyone before, so he didn't even realize what was happening. He decided to look it up on his smart assistant. After seeing the results, he stood frozen in place for a long time. When he finally snapped out of it, his face darkened instantly and he slammed his brand new phone onto the ground. The phone shattered into pieces immediately. "Wen Qiwu, you've really outdone yourself." Far away, Wen Qiwu had no idea what was happening, nor did she care what might happen to Gu Peiji. By the time her brother finished the meeting, it was already noon. Fu Hanqing suggested, "How about some hot pot? I'm craving it." My gaze fell upon Fu Hanqing. Whenever I'm feeling down, I always crave a fiery hot pot. Numbing my senses with spice leaves no room for these troubles. I was genuinely annoyed by Gu Peiji just now, but I'm feeling much better now. My brother had no idea what had happened, and seeing I didn't object, he immediately had his assistant reserve 3 seats. We went to our usual hot pot spot. It wasn't until we reached the entrance that I felt a long-lost sense of familiarity. In my past life, because I was pregnant, Gu Peiji claims that hot pot can affect a child's development. For 9 whole months, I didn't have anything spicy. Fuck you, Gu Peiji. Screw your dad's influence on kids. The moment I sat down, I ordered one of everything on the menu and told the manager, I want it all spicy, extra hot, super hot, explosive hot. It was the first time I'd ever been this irritable. Even the manager was taken aback. Suddenly I remembered my brother mentioning that Fu Hanqing doesn't eat spicy food, so I quickly added, "Let's get a split pot, please." We were seated in a private room. I wasn't the least bit worried about compromising my ladylike image. Once all the dishes arrived, I kept eating while making sure everyone else was eating too, with a curious look in his eyes. The brother silently questioned Fu Hanqing. Fu Hanqing waved his hand dismissively, but as they continued eating, a loud commotion suddenly erupted outside the door. I've always preferred quiet, so the sudden noise immediately made my face scrunch up in displeasure. Seeing this, Fu Hanqing gestured to the manager and said, "We're taking the whole place today, let the current customers finish their meals, but no new seating, it gets a bit too loud." As he spoke, he pulled out a black card. The manager didn't take it, looking hesitant as he replied, "Young Master Fu, it's the young master of the Pei family who's arrived." Offending either side was out of the question. The manager was too hesitant to make any decisions. I froze mid-bite of my hot pot. And before any of us could react, a voice cut through the air faster than any movement. "Brother Chiyu, hope you don't mind me bringing some company." Gu Peiji stepped inside first. Without waiting for anyone's objections, he gestured from behind. Nan Wu emerged from behind him in a qipao, chiming sweetly, "Sorry to interrupt." Gu Peiji was the first to take a seat, meeting the gazes of Fu Hanqing and his brother. He explained with a smile, "I suddenly had a craving for hot pot. This is my assistant, Nan Wu. We've known each other since high school, thought it'd be a good chance for everyone to get acquainted." "I refuse." I shot Gu Peiji an icy glare. This kind of impulsive dinner invitation was completely out of character for him. I couldn't make sense of it, nor did I care to understand his motives. Just as Nan Wu was about to sit down, hearing my blunt refusal, she immediately rose with wounded pride, her eyes glistening as she turned to Gu Peiji. Gu Peiji's smile vanished instantly, as if he'd completely forgotten my brother existed. His voice turned icy as he warned, "Wen Chiwu, if you keep this up, I won't speak to you ever again." The surroundings fell into abrupt silence. Even the shopkeeper who had been discreetly wiping sweat froze in place. My brother's face darkened immediately. Just as he was about to speak, I pulled him back by the arm. I cast an indifferent glance at Gu Peiji. "Don't you dare talk to me, Gu Peiji. Starting today, no, starting yesterday, we're complete strangers. Whether you live or die is none of my concern. I never want to have feelings for Gu Peiji again. I never want to know Gu Peiji again." In yesterday's dream, I kept telling myself over and over again. Gu Peiji's expression froze, as if he hadn't expected me to say such a thing. His eyes then fell upon Fu Hanqing sitting beside me. He had never met Fu Hanqing before. Noticing how young Fu Hanqing looked, he immediately sneered. "Well, no wonder you were so quick to cut ties with me. Turns out you've already got someone else lined up. Wen Chiwu, you really have no shame. Just yesterday you were professing your love for me, and today you're already seeing someone else. Then again, this pretty boy does have some charm to him." His words kept pouring out relentlessly. Everyone could feel the chill in the air, including Nan Wu. Nan Wu desperately tried to discreetly reach out and pull him, but it was utterly futile. Fu Hanqing sneered, leaning back with a raised eyebrow as he looked at him with an air of arrogance. He showed no sign of anger at his words, merely raising an eyebrow and gesturing toward Nan Wu. Gu Peiji didn't understand what he meant. Just as the reporters at the door swarmed in, Fu Hanqing lazily clapped his hands, raising an eyebrow with a smirk as he said, "If Wu Wu really likes me, it's my honor. But as a celebrity getting involved with their own assistant, I wonder if that kind of news is explosive enough." He lifted his gaze and gave the reporters a flirtatious eyebrow raise, so suggestive that the reporters nearly forgot what they were there for. The bombshell news instantly drew a crowd around Gu Peiji and Nan Wu. Before I could react, a hand pulled me up and we slipped out through the back door. I never expected Fu Hanqing to speak up for me. Recalling his words, my heart fluttered for a moment before settling back to normal. "Thank you, Hanqing." I turned to look for my brother. My usually composed brother was now furiously giving instructions to his assistant, "Arrange a meeting with the Gu family. I want to see for myself what this Gu son is really like. And one more thing, find out what's really going on between Gu Peiji and Nan Wu." He said it all in one breath, his anger still simmering. I tugged gently at my brother's sleeve. My initial thought was to simply cut ties with the Gu family and never speak to them again, but I knew, my brother would never let me be wronged. Gu Peiji's words just now must have upset him. "Brother, Gu Peiji's words don't affect me anymore. I just want you." I paused, glanced at Fu Hanqing, and continued, I just want you all to be healthy and safe." The next day, on my way to my brother's company, I was kidnapped. In the abandoned factory, my hands were bound tightly with rope. I opened my eyes and looked at this familiar place. Memories came flooding back into my mind. I was stunned into silence for a long moment. This kidnapping was supposed to happen years later. I never imagined it would occur ahead of schedule, knowing I might be targeted for kidnapping and that my brother has high standards. I went to his company to ask for help in hiring some bodyguards. The kidnapper, wearing a mask, demanded I call for a 10 million ransom as soon as he saw I was awake. "What are you staring at? If I don't get 10 million in ransom, I'll kill you." The kidnapper glared at me fiercely, with a look in his eyes unlike that of an ordinary criminal. They loathed me even more, wishing they could just. I nodded with trembling fear. "Okay. I have money, don't worry, I have money, untie me. My brother needs to see I'm unharmed before he'll pay. If you don't untie me, he won't hand over a cent." The kidnapper hadn't expected me to be so compliant. As he untied me, he issued a warning. "I'm warning you, if you pull any funny business, I'll end you." I stared at the kidnapper in silence. After being tied up for so long, my legs gave out the moment they loosened the ropes, and I collapsed weakly to the ground. The kidnapper jabbed the gun at me, urging me to move. "Stop slacking off and make the call now." I took the phone and dialed my own number. The signal was weak. With each step I took, the kidnapper followed close behind, until we reached the edge of the abandoned factory's second floor. Still no answer. "Can't you fucking call someone else?" The kidnapper sensed something was wrong and reached out to snatch the phone. Without hesitation, I threw the phone from the second floor. The kidnapper froze for a moment, then snapped back to reality and kicked me hard in the stomach. I was kicked to the ground, my face scraping against the pavement until it bled, a trickle of blood appearing at the corner of my mouth. The kidnapper tied me up again, then immediately went down to retrieve the phone. The second floor wasn't that high. Phones don't usually break that easily under normal circumstances, but I used considerable force, and with the ground being all rocky here, when it hit the stones, the phone shattered beyond recognition, and it wouldn't turn on at all. Seeing the phone was useless, the kidnapper instantly cursed several times and started punching me in the face, one blow after another. I never stopped smiling, even when too weak to speak. My eyes conveyed the message: "You will never harm my family again." In my past life, it all started with that kidnapping. When I called Gupeji, no one answered. The kidnappers got hold of my brother's number instead. But they weren't after ransom money at all. My brother died saving me, shot dead by his own gun. Losing my phone meant losing all contact with the outside world. The kidnapper shoved a hood over my head, gagged me, and doused the area around me with gasoline. Spotting the protective locket around my neck, he ripped it off and sneered, "You'd better pray your brother comes to save you, otherwise, death will be the least of your worries." His eyes roamed over my body with a predatory gleam. I paid no mind to his threats. Nothing else mattered as long as my brother remained safe. News of my kidnapping went viral online, but I never expected Gupeji to be the first one to find me. He was the first to locate me, and seeing my injuries, he brutally kicked the kidnapper. The kidnapper was kicked so hard he dropped to his knees. "Who said you could touch her?" Gupeji's face was dark with anger, an expression I'd never seen on him before. I stared at him in astonishment. What shocked me even more was that Gupeji actually knew the kidnapper. An unbelievable suspicion began forming in my mind. I stared at him in disbelief. Maybe I was truly being selfish. I just wish in my past life, Gupeji hadn't answered my call. I don't want to believe he had any connection with the kidnappers, or that my brother's death was related to him. The ropes loosened, and I found myself cradled in Gupeji's arms. I had no strength left to struggle, only a flicker of despair in my eyes as I looked at him. "Gupeji, do you know him?" Only the kidnapper and I remained in the room. The concern on Gupeji's face instantly froze. His hands clenched into fists, his eyes filled with a pain I had never seen before. He checked me for any other injuries, but he didn't answer my question. Trembling, I grabbed Gupeji by the collar and demanded again and again, "You know him. You know the kidnapper. Tell me, Gupeji, tell me." The voice grew increasingly shaky and louder with each word. Gupeji just held me tightly, locking me securely in his embrace. "Woo-woo, I'll explain everything when we get back. I promise I'll explain." His embrace was unyielding. Woo-woo was so frail, her breathing unsteady at that moment as if she might vanish at any second. What a spectacle this is. Nanwu appeared, accompanied by several people trailing behind her. The kidnapper immediately fell in step beside Nanwu. I followed the kidnapper's gaze and looked over. The kidnapper looked just like he did in my previous life. He was thrilled to see Nan Wu and immediately hugged and kissed her. "Don't worry, I'll avenge you." As soon as he finished speaking, the kidnapper fired a shot in my direction. Before I could react, Gu Peizhi threw himself in front of me. A bullet struck his left shoulder, and instantly, his face was drenched in sweat from the pain. Nan Wu's expression softened with concern as she immediately turned to scold the kidnapper. "If anything happens to him, I'll never forgive you." Her heart ached as she moved closer, but before she could reach him, Gu Peizhi defensively raised his arm to block her path. "Stay away from Wu Wu," he uttered weakly. Those simple words instantly ignited Nan Wu's fury, overriding her earlier concern. "Gu Peizhi, you like her. But what about me?" She looked at Gu Peizhi with trembling eyes. After all these 7 years, he still only has feelings for his childhood sweetheart. She truly couldn't understand what was so special about that girl. Nan Wu turned her gaze toward me, cradled in his embrace. Only my pair of dark eyes peered back at her. Nan Wu wanted to find someone to separate us. Gu Peizhi held me in a death grip. Any attempt to move him made blood gush desperately from his left shoulder. Crouching down, she watched as her lover, even in his dazed state, insisted on holding his childhood sweetheart. The sight was driving her insane with rage. I couldn't make sense of Gu Peizhi's actions, nor what Nan Wu had said. "He likes me. I just find it laughable. If you truly cared about me, you wouldn't have abandoned me in the fire, wouldn't have been drunk on someone else while I was being kidnapped, and wouldn't have ignored my calls when I was in a car accident," as if sensing my gaze. Gu Peizhi's trembling fingers brushed aside the stray hairs on my forehead. "Don't worry, help will be here soon." The moment those words were spoken, police sirens and ambulance sounds instantly erupted at the entrance. Neither the kidnappers nor Nan Wu's accomplices had anticipated this turn of events. Gu Peizhi had figured out my address and suspected her involvement in the kidnapping, so he secretly checked her phone, so I called the police on my way over. The kidnapper was the first to react. Throwing the lit lighter to let the flames spread, Nan Wu screamed in shock. "What are you doing? Peizhi is still in there. We have to get him out." She rushed forward anxiously to save him, but was struck hard on the back of the head and completely lost consciousness. Before leaving, the kidnapper sneered, "Then die here together, you star-crossed lovers." Ha ha ha. The fire grew increasingly fierce, and I was choking too hard to speak. Once I regained some strength, I forcefully pulled Gu Peizhi to his feet. The flames blocked our path forward. I gave Gu Peizhi a gentle shake, but he was completely unconscious and wouldn't stir. My eyes darted around anxiously, until they finally landed on the spot where the phone had been tossed aside. The second floor wasn't that high, a proper jump should be fine. Weakly dragging his body, I tried to kick him down, but the slick wetness on my hands snapped me back to reality. Staring at the crimson blood on my hands, I could only resign myself and close my eyes. She pulled him in front of her, using her own body as a cushion as she sat back. "Gu Peizhi, you took a bullet for me, now we're even." Without hesitation, I let myself fall backward. As I fell, I heard desperate voices screaming my name, just like the last life, only this time, I could see his face clearly. Saw Fu Hansen rushing toward me with frantic urgency. When I came to again, I was in the hospital. Groggily, I opened my eyes and reached out to pat Fu Hanqing's head, seeing that I was awake. He hurried off to call for the doctor. The doctor gave me a full physical examination. Aside from some scrapes and bruises, there were no other issues. My brother dropped everything and rushed over the moment he heard I'd regained consciousness. Seeing I was alright, he held me tight with tears in his eyes. "Silly child, you must always come to me no matter what happens." The kidnappers and Nan Wu were apprehended while attempting to flee the country, according to the kidnappers. They first tried to make Wen Chiwu call for ransom, but the person on the other end wouldn't listen and ended up breaking the phone. In a fit of rage, they kicked it a few times. This whole thing made my brother absolutely furious. Ignoring all warnings, I pinned the kidnapper down and landed several punches. This kidnapper was Nan Wu's obsessive ex-boyfriend. Even knowing about Nan Wu's relationship with Gu Peizhi, he still loved her. Learning that the person he loved ended up in this state because of me, he went all out and kidnapped me without hesitation. After a moment of stunned silence, I immediately embraced my brother. "I'm just relieved that my brother is safe and sound in this lifetime." Holding my brother, I glanced over his shoulder and saw Fu Hansen's exhausted expression finally relax with relief. I mouthed a silent thank you to him. His hands were injured. He must have given that kidnapper as good a beating as my brother did. On the third day of my recovery, Aunt Gu secretly tracked down my kidnapper and knelt directly on the ground before him. Auntie Gu, please don't be like this. Seeing her reminded me of Gu Peiji. She was crying bitterly, pleading desperately. Wu, you've always been close with Peiji since childhood. He's severely injured and still unconscious. The doctor says if he doesn't wake up soon, he might become vegetative. I know you just woke up yourself, and I wouldn't trouble you like this if the situation weren't so critical. After a moment of stunned silence, I followed Aunt Gu to the hospital room. Gu Peiji's wounds had been properly treated, yet he remained unconscious. I stood there staring blankly at Gu Peiji. I used to think I understood him completely, but after everything that happened in our past life, I realized I never truly knew him at all, and now it dawns on me. I've never really known who Gu Peiji truly was, not from the very beginning. I never knew in either of my lives. I stared at Gu Peiji for what felt like an eternity, so long that I didn't even notice someone had appeared at the door. When the wind blew in from outside, I instinctively moved to close the window. Just as I stood up, a warm hand grasped mine. I turned around in surprise, meeting Gu Peiji's cool gaze. Fu Hanqing outside the door was the first to react, followed by Aunt Gu, who was about to enter. Seeing her son regain consciousness, she immediately rushed off in delight to fetch someone. Throughout the entire medical examination, Gu Peiji's gaze remained fixed intently on me. Once it was confirmed he was alright, I turned and left the room. Fu Hanqing had been waiting for me for quite some time. He raised an eyebrow with a light chuckle. Not going to watch anymore. I shook my head. I'd seen enough in my previous life. Even though something like this happened with Gu Peiji, the fault still lies with him. Old Master Gu has always been strict, and he values face, caring deeply about his family's long-standing social connections. Mrs. Gu had initially intended to plead Gu Peiji's case, but then one shocking revelation after another about him and Nan Wu started circulating, pushing Aunt Gu to the brink of a heart attack. It turns out Gu Peiji and Nan Wu had been involved for many years. You could say we were more like bedmates. Gu Peiji knew perfectly well that someone like Nan Wu would never be his wife. His reputation was completely ruined. He was blacklisted from the industry. Nan Wu and the kidnappers were both sent to prison. I thought my ties with the Gu family were severed for good, but old Master Gu fell gravely ill, and he'd always doted on me since childhood. After repeated pleas from Aunt Gu, I went to the Gu family home to visit Grandpa. Grandpa kept apologizing on behalf of his grandson over and over. Each time, I just shook my head. I slipped out of the room quietly after Grandpa had fallen asleep. The moment I turned around, I bumped straight into Gu Peiji. He had been waiting there all along. He looked as if he had lost over 10 pounds, so frail that a gust of wind might knock him over. I froze for a second, then continued walking forward as if nothing had happened. He took hold of my hand. I stopped in my tracks and looked at him. There were so many questions I wanted to ask, but seeing that my brother was fine, and realizing I was fine too, it suddenly dawned on me that those words didn't really matter anymore. He just held me for 2 seconds before letting go. On the way home, a warm breeze brushed against my face. I reached my hand out the window, a safety lock resting in my palm. Perhaps the wind was too strong. The safety lock came undone. Just like what happened between Gu Peiji and me, all our feelings were scattered by the wind. According to Gu Peiji, during his coma, he had a terrifying nightmare. In the dream, he married Wu Wu, but he treated her with utter cruelty. He also dreamed of the fire. He truly hadn't seen Wu Wu, but he blamed himself for being completely focused on someone else at that moment, causing Wu Wu, who cherished her beauty most, to have her face disfigured. He also dreamed of the kidnapping. That day, he drank heavily for work. When he finally sobered up, Wu Wu was holding herself, eyes red and swollen from crying. She trembled as she said, "I've lost my brother," still dreaming of him arrogantly telling his friends those disgusting things to save face. When the news of Wu Wu's car accident finally came, both Wu Wu and the child were gone. Waking from the dream, Gu Peiji slapped himself hard across the face. The dream kept recurring, feeling as vivid as reality itself. So when he saw Wu Wu, he was desperate to confirm something. But as he grasped her hand and met her icy gaze, he didn't dare ask, afraid the truth would mirror his dream. He would never forgive himself. Gu Peiji had a secret. He was utterly smitten with Chi Wu, and seeing her jealous over him filled him with pure delight. From the very beginning, the only person he ever wanted to marry was Wu Wu. His relationship with Nan Wu was completely unexpected. He couldn't understand what had come over him. He was filled with deep, profound regret. Everyone in their circle said Nan Wu was his first love, but no one knew, Chiwoo was the only one who ever truly held his heart. All he knew was, he had lost when Chiwoo for good. Worried that I'd be upset about Gu Peiji, my brother gave me a few million to go travel and take my mind off things. At the airport, I spotted Fu Hanqing. He raised an eyebrow at me with a light chuckle, then held his ticket up before my eyes and said softly, "What a coincidence, same flight, care to join me?" Beautiful, I smiled and nodded. The journey was long, and just as I was growing drowsy, Fu Hanqing asked a flight attendant for a blanket. The moment he draped it over me, he leaned close to my ear and murmured softly, "Silly, you're the one who's my first love." He didn't notice at all. I secretly opened my eyes, nor did he notice. I've known about this secret of his for a long time. End of story. Story 2. After being hated by the whole internet due to the plagiarism incident, I publicly announced that I would stop writing. My boyfriend, who had been indignantly accusing me, was stunned. "What are you going to do? Didn't you say there were still a lot of debts to pay off?" His wife Moonlight, the victim of the plagiarism incident, was also flustered. Wei, you don't have to punish yourself like this. I'm willing to give you a chance to start over." I looked at the flashing magnesium lights below the stage, and my expression didn't waver in the slightest. In my last life, these two people humiliated me while colluding with each other to steal my creative achievements. In the end, the words I painstakingly wrote helped Qin Ruoro achieve the fame of a talented writer. This time around, I directly cancelled the author's pen name that I had used for 6 years. I've had enough of living in this cramped rental house. It's time to go home and inherit the family fortune. As for Qin Ruoro, I want to see how you're going to complete the remaining half of the work. 1. May I ask, Ms. Meng, you keep saying that you will produce evidence to prove that you didn't plagiarize. So, where is the evidence? As one of your former readers, I really don't want to believe that you would do such a thing. Were your previous works really written by you? Facing countless microphones thrust towards me, I was first taken aback, and then my heart began to beat violently. I was reborn. Reborn on the day when I held a press conference to prove my innocence. In my previous life, my boyfriend's wife Moonlight plagiarized my novel, which was based on my own secret love story. On the day of the book's evaluation, it soared to the top of the website's gold list, creating a best-selling myth in the youth campus literature genre. After being reposted by Big V marketing accounts, countless netizens exclaimed that it was tear-jerking. I originally wanted to show my creative drafts as evidence, but unexpectedly, on the day of the press conference, my files were emptied, leaving no trace at all. I experienced unprecedented online violence. Every day, I received wreaths, black and white photos, and terrifying express deliveries from all over the place. I gritted my teeth and continued writing, but in the end, I was stabbed to death by radical anti-fans who came to my door. At the moment, I just hesitated for a moment. And my so-called good boyfriend of 3 years, Xue Chen, couldn't help but launch a passionate attack. Meng Weiwei, if you say that Ruoro is slandering you, then produce the evidence. Don't make unfounded accusations and smear others. He glared at me angrily, but there was a flash of complacent in his eyes. Yes, how could he not know what was in my folder? What he wanted was for me to be disgraced and for Qin Ruoro to become the new generation of popular writer. I lowered my eyes, picked up my computer, and walked beside the projection platform. I turned it on and cast the screen. The next second, facing everyone's astonished gazes, I cancelled the author's pen name that I had used for 6 years. Xue Chen and Qin Ruoro stood up directly. I said in a cold voice, "Everyone, I am wrong today. The evidence has been destroyed by those with ulterior motives, and it's difficult for me to defend myself. From today onwards, this pen name is invalid. I will stop writing and never set foot in anything related to the online literature circle again." 2. After I finished speaking, I was about to leave with my computer. Xue Chen rushed in front of me like a shot to block me. "What are you going to do? Didn't you say there were still a lot of debts to pay off? You just decide not to write. Didn't you say every day that writing is your biggest dream?" Qin Ruoro was also flustered. She came over with tears in her eyes. Weiwei, you don't have to punish yourself like this. I'm willing to give you a chance to start over. I sneered as I watched these two people perform. The next second, Qin Ruoro suddenly gritted her teeth and knelt down in front of me on the spot. "Weiwei, I beg you not to quit the circle just because of this little thing. Your readers will definitely not let me off. I can delete all the information and pretend that none of this ever happened. If you quit the circle, I'll be in big trouble." "I won't write either." The sound of click-click from the shutters immediately aimed at her. My former golden editor couldn't help but come over and try to pull her up. What are you saying, Ruoro? Why are you kneeling to a plagiarist? She brought this upon herself. You just signed a top writer contract with the company. Don't forget, there is still work to be done in the future. I was too lazy to be attacked here, so I simply left the scene. To prevent being blocked by reporters, I deliberately took a small path and took a taxi back to the rental house from the back door. On the way back, messages on my Weibo kept popping up. I opened it and found that 4 out of the top 10 trending topics were about me. Hashtag Meng Weiwei plagiarized hashtag. Hashtag Meng Weiwei and Qin Ruoro hashtag. Hashtag Qin Ruoro was forced to kneel hashtag. Hashtag Qin Ruoro's ghostwriter hashtag. The unscrupulous marketing accounts denied all the works I had ever created. They claimed that I plagiarized Qin Ruoro's ideas and threatened Qin Ruoro to be my ghostwriter. There were nothing but curses under my Weibo posts. Damn, it's so disgusting. I actually followed a plagiarist. I watched the live press conference. Meng Weiwei didn't dare to say a word when she was criticized. And in the end, she even forced Qin Ruoro to kneel. At least you have the sense to know to stop writing and quit the circle, otherwise, I'll definitely make you pay. Even your own boyfriend stood up to accuse you. Meng Weiwei, what have you done? I think she's made enough money and is running away. I support Qin Ruoro to sue to the end and let her face the lawsuit. The comments on my backstage were all foul language. In contrast, the number of followers on Qin Ruoro's Weibo increased sharply. And there were a lot of warm and encouraging comments below. I left a comment, then I wish you can continue to update daily and complete the second half. Don't let your readers down. I knew that I didn't have much saved work left. Qin Ruoro was too impatient. She was worried that I would publish the work before I finished stockpiling the drafts, so she simply took the initiative first. But she couldn't complete the foreshadowing and Easter eggs I left in the front. Exposing her was just a matter of time. 3. I returned to the rental house. The 90 square meter house was neither too big nor too small, and I had decorated it to be warm and comfortable. On the old wall were photos pasted together to form a heart shape, photos of me and Xue Chen. But every one of them was secretly taken by me and then developed by someone else. He never agreed to take photos with me. He also didn't want to post on moments, and on anniversaries. He would even give me the cold shoulder and disappear in advance. Over the years, I paid for the rent and utilities. I also basically paid for our meals, shopping, and outings. I immediately, under the pressure of paying the liquidated damages, proposed to the landlord that I would move out. I threw away the things I didn't need and packed up as quickly as possible. Just as I was busily working, there was a knock on the door. I opened the door and found that it was Xue Chen and Qin Ruoro. Weiwei, are you moving? As soon as Qin Ruoro entered the door, she hypocritically took my hand. I coldly pulled my hand back. Xue Chen looked at me coldly, and the disdain between his eyebrows was obvious. Moving? As far as I know, her father has long since passed away due to illness. The money she has worked so hard to earn by writing over the years has been used to pay off the medical expenses her father owed. She even feels pained about the monthly rent of 2,000 yuan for this house. If she moves, she can only move to a shabby single dormitory. I looked at him expressionlessly. What do you want? Xue Chen said with disgust. Apologize to Ruoro and publicly admit that you plagiarized. 4. My eyebrows twitched. Is this something a decent person would say? I angrily questioned him. Xue Chen, don't you know the truth? You've been living off me all these years. Where do you get the nerve to say such things now? Xue Chen's expression didn't waver in the slightest. He said with a sense of righteousness, just because you're a jobless vagrant without parents, and Ruoro has been a princess surrounded by everyone's attention since she was in school, I will help her get whatever she wants. You probably don't know yet. Ruoro's parents are middle school teachers. She's thousands of times better than you in every way. My boyfriend, who had been in a relationship with me since college, was now attacking me with the most vicious words. He only knew that I came from a single-parent family and moved out because I had a disagreement with my mother, but he didn't know that my mother was the general manager of the Asia-Pacific region of a certain multinational group. After my father passed away, he left us an inheritance worth 9 figures. It can be said that if I hadn't chosen to stay here to avoid inheriting the family business back then, I would have been someone that Xue Chen could never reach in his entire life. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Xue Chen thought his attack had been effective. He sneered and continued, some people are born princesses, while others, no matter how hard they try, are just shady maids. If I were you, I would slink away now and leave all the things here to Ruoro. What are you still standing there for? Immediately log on to Weibo and publicly apologize to Ruoro, or don't blame me for being rude. However, the next second, I raised my hand and gave Shuechen a solid slap in the face. I slapped him so hard that Shuechen's face turned to the side, his eyes widened, and red blood vessels immediately filled his eyeballs. Meng Weiwei, how dare you hit someone? Qin Ruoro let out a scream and immediately took 2 steps back to take out her phone to film. However, I slapped her phone away first and swung my suitcase to knock both of them aside. I vented my resentment wildly, smashing whatever was at hand. Anyway, I didn't plan to keep anything. If you like my things so much, then I'll give them all to you. The surroundings were in a mess, and all the visible items were smashed to pieces by me. I opened the door and strode out of this place where I had lived in a cramped space for 3 years. 5. I called my mother. We hadn't been in touch for several years, but when I dialed the number, she answered immediately. At that moment, my tears flowed uncontrollably. In my previous life, from the time I left in a fit of pique after graduating from university until I was killed, I didn't get to say a word to my mother. I couldn't imagine how sad she would be when she heard the news of my death. This time, I just wanted to be my mother's little spoiled one. It's good to be home, it's good to be home. My mother's voice kept trembling, and in the end, she could only repeat these 4 words. Soon, I boarded the plane back to Shanghai. Before boarding, I took a look at Weibo and found that Qin Ruoro had hypocritically posted another message. Sorry, everyone, I'm going to stop writing for a while. The things that have happened recently have made me feel a bit overwhelmed. Meng Weiwei is also a senior that I have always admired. I want to take a leave of absence for a while to adjust myself. And Li Fei, the editor who had once shown me great care, quickly reposted this Weibo post. Fans, please give Ruoro some time to come up with better works. Next month, we will hold a fan meeting event in Shanghai. Everyone is welcome to attend. It was clearly trying to build Qin Ruoro into a popular author. I sighed, turned off my phone, and fell into a deep sleep. When I got off the plane, my mother had already come to pick me up with a driver and bodyguards in a Rolls-Royce. She said that she had heard about my situation and was going to ask her friends to handle the public relations and contact a lawyer to sue at the same time. We will pursue this matter to the end. We will never let my precious daughter suffer any grievances. I lay in my mother's arms. Her hand kept stroking my back, and her chin gently rested on my forehead. There were all kinds of exquisite dishes in the car, as well as my favorite drinks from before. My mother was afraid that I would be hungry, so she started preparing as soon as she received my call. I hugged my mother tightly. Don't worry, Mom, there's no need to go to so much trouble. I smiled and said, soon, the real plagiarist will reap what she sows. 6. It felt so great to move back into our big villa. I didn't have to get up early to buy groceries and prepare 3 meals a day, and I didn't have to wash my clothes myself. The balance in my card with countless zeros was more than I could spend, and I no longer had to worry about the rent and expenses every month. My mother specially tidied up a study for me. There were several walls full of books and a computer with the highest configuration, which supported me to do anything I wanted. Every morning, I could bask in the sun in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, do yoga, and have beauty treatments. At noon, I could enjoy a full banquet. In the afternoon, I could go shopping, have afternoon tea, and learn equestrianism, yoga, and golf. In the evening, I could have a glass of red wine, take a bath in the spacious bathtub, and fall asleep accompanied by the tuner specially hired by my mother. My physical fitness and mental state have been greatly improved, several levels higher than before. However, at the same time, with Qin Ruoro's long-term discontinuation of updates, dissatisfied voices gradually emerged online. Some people began to question, can Qin Ruoro really write? Could it be that what Meng Weiwei said was true? There's no reason to stop updating for so long when she's so popular. She has no professional ethics at all. Is she playing tricks on everyone? Refund the money quickly. Qin Ruoro was also anxious. She logged on to Weibo more and more frequently. I knew this person very well. She had a delicate appearance since she was a child and was used to relying on men. She didn't have any real talent or learning at all. Asking her to write a few words was harder than killing her. What's more, my book was completely based on my own real-life situation, telling the story of my unrequited love for a senior back then. Even if Shuechen knew me well, he could only tell Qin Ruoro about some individual events, so Qin Ruoro couldn't withstand the pressure and reluctantly wrote a chapter under Shuechen's guidance. but the plummeting data and the flood of negative comments soon made her delete it, so she played the victim on Weibo again, claiming that she was ill and having an operation. And she really couldn't do anything about it, but she also promised that she would definitely hand over a work that satisfied everyone at the offline meeting. One day, I was shopping at Hermes, thinking about which bag to match with my new clothes, when editor Li Fei suddenly sent me a message saying that she wanted to meet me. Wei, I see that your IP address is in Shanghai. Coincidentally, I'm also on a business trip here. Let's have a good chat. There are some things that I may have misunderstood you about. My heart started to beat faster. 7. I originally thought that I would be vindicated, but unexpectedly, when Li Fei came to me this time, she actually tried to persuade me to continue helping Qin Ruoruo complete the work. In the coffee shop, Li Fei sized up the new Chanel outfit I was wearing and let out a slightly disdainful chuckle. Name your price, Wei. I know your family is in a difficult situation. How much do you want to continue writing? Now Qin Ruoruo is the golden sign of our website. She has created huge profits for us, and the website will definitely protect her. In the few minutes of silence, it felt as if a century had passed. Now that your pen name has been cancelled, your former readers are gone. Besides, it was the website that made efforts to promote you to achieve results back then. Li Fei pushed the coffee cup aside and leaned forward. 500,000. That's enough for you to get a real set of clothes like the ones you're wearing now, and it can also help you continue to do what you want. Looking at her meaningful eyes, my face darkened completely. What kind of person did Li Fei take me for, and what did she think I was doing in Shanghai now? Fine, I squeezed out these 2 words through gritted teeth. No problem, I've already prepared the outline, it only takes 3 days, and I'll complete the remaining 100,000 words for you. Li Fei stood up excitedly. Great, then it's a deal, I'll wait for you here in 3 days. I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. After I got back, I turned on the computer and started writing according to the outline I had drafted in my notebook. Perhaps due to the rest I had in the previous period, my inspiration and energy were extremely abundant. 3 days later, with 2 dark circles under my eyes, I handed the manuscript to her. Li Fei was overjoyed. But she was still cautious and reviewed the manuscript in front of me first. Only after confirming that there was no problem did she let out a sigh of relief, transferred 500,000 to me on the spot, and signed a confidentiality contract with me. But Li Fei didn't know, when these manuscripts are uploaded to the website, they won't be in the current layout format. At that time, in several lines in the middle, the first characters will form a sentence together. Qin Ruoruo is the real plagiarist. 8. After getting the manuscript, Qin Ruoruo seemed to rejuvenate overnight and could even directly retort to the anti-fans. She showed the word count of the document and angrily rebuked. I will never hastily create shoddy works for the sake of traffic. I want a high-quality product that I can be proud of. This domineering declaration won her even more favor, and the comments on the platform were all in support of her. I flipped through her comment section, and a person named Protect Ruoruo for Life was particularly eye-catching. This user's Weibo was all about Qin Ruoruo. It recorded countless round-trip tickets over 3 years and countless preferences of the girl secretly spied on and recorded. From his historical avatars, I found out that he was Xue Chen. Only then did I realize that when he confessed to me after graduating from university, he was just trying to make Qin Ruoruo jealous. Soon, Qin Ruoruo's reader meeting arrived. She announced in advance that she would upload all the remaining content of the book on the spot, allowing readers to enjoy it all at once. This was really attractive, so on the day of the meeting, the entire hall was packed. Unaware passers-by might have thought some popular celebrity had arrived. Readers held self-made peripheral signs, and their shouts were almost deafening. Ah! My Ruoruo is really so beautiful in person. The goddess is not only talented but also so beautiful. How can others live? I like reading your book so much. Can you sign for me? I'm going crazy with excitement. When will it be published? I want to buy 10 copies to collect. Don't push, you're blocking me. Facing the reader's questions, Qin Ruoruo also answered according to what Xue Chen had taught her. Of course the senior is very outstanding. He went abroad as soon as he graduated. He is the white moonlight in my youth memories. I only dared to deliberately pass by their classroom on the way after class. He would always stand in the corridor and chat and laugh with others. I was most looking forward to when everyone ran together during the break exercises and when we ate in the cafeteria because I could get closer to him openly. At that time, I specially opened a premium membership on QQ to secretly browse the senior space. When I saw him, I didn't dare to raise my head and deliberately put on a very cold look, ha ha ha, until now. I'm afraid he still doesn't know that I liked him. Chin Ruorwo's expression when speaking was shy and timid, just like a little girl secretly in love with her favorite male god in school. When it came to some moments, she would also lower her eyes, as if she was experiencing the pain of secret love all over again. Finally, the most exciting moment arrived. The remaining manuscript of Chin Ruorwo's book was projected on the big screen. This highly anticipated book finally came to an end. Readers also took out their mobile phones one after another to open Chin Ruorwo's book and give rewards and tickets. There were exclamations all around the scene, and everyone unanimously agreed that it was a masterpiece, and the later part was even more tear-jerking than the previous part. Gradually, sobs began to be heard. Until someone with sharp eyes noticed something was wrong. Wait, what does this mean on page 3 of chapter 98? Why do I see that the first words are connected into a sentence? Chin Ruorwo is the real plagiarist. The whole audience was in an uproar. Immediately, someone began to respond, damn, it really is. I said, why there suddenly appeared a character with the surname Chin. Could it be that the original author of this book is really someone else? My God. What kind of supernatural event is this? Or is the original author using a veiled way to hint at the truth to us? Have we been deceived all along? The scene was in chaos, and the staff quickly withdrew and took down the new chapter, but still, many people had already seen it. The book fans were indignant and shouted for Chin Ruorwo to give an explanation, and she reacted quickly and immediately screamed, absurd. This is simply absurd, absolutely impossible. This is my original work. Someone has tampered with my manuscript. Who touched my computer? It clearly wasn't like this. But immediately, a reader retorted, who could touch your computer? Don't you always carry it with you? Is it such a coincidence that it was touched today? Prove yourself by writing an extra chapter on the spot. If the writing style and plot are consistent, we'll believe you. That's right, hurry up and write. You always say you want to give back to your readers. Writing an extra chapter shouldn't be too difficult for you, right? Facing the swarming microphones, Chin Ruorwo covered her chest and pretended to have a heart attack. She gasped a couple of times, closed her eyes, and fell straight down. Now the whole audience was completely in chaos. Many book fans rushed onto the stage and asked the staff to restore the deleted chapter. Xuechen also rushed out of the crowd at the first time, picked her up horizontally, and roared with his eyes wide open, asking for a doctor. When he rushed out, he happened to pass by me, who was standing on the outermost circle. At that time, the scene was already boiling, and everyone rushed onto the stage to see the words on the big screen clearly. Chin Ruorwo herself was no longer the focus of the reader's attention. Meng Weiwei, you still have the nerve to show up. You must be behind all this today. Xuechen's face was terrifyingly gloomy. The way he looked at me was like looking at a sworn enemy. You're jealous that Ruorwo has my love, so you've always been unhappy with her. I know that, but your methods today are really despicable. You just can't stand to see the person I like do well and deliberately want to ruin her. You bitch, just wait. If anything happens to Ruorwo today, I'll kill you. He roared at me, just like a general who was furious for the sake of his beloved. Just as Xuechen was about to push my shoulder and rush out, I also spoke softly, Xuechen. Do you think I was with you just because I liked you? His footsteps stopped. He turned around with his whole body tensed. You also know that the person I had a crush on went abroad after graduating from university. The reason I agreed to your confession was, first, to heal my heart, and second I smiled and pointed at the tip of his nose. You have a small mole here, just like him, but unfortunately, a substitute can never compare to the real thing. 9. After this farce of Chin Ruorwo, the website originally wanted to create a personal IP through this event and successfully earn a wave of traffic, but it ended up in vain. Instead, it was met with overwhelming abuse and doubts. Some people began to dig out the dispute between me and Chin Ruorwo back then and shouted at the website's official. Meng Weiwei has written books for many years, and every one of them has been on the gold list. I was skeptical when such a person was accused of plagiarism. It was because you, the official, strongly protected Chin Ruorwo that we chose to believe. Chin Ruorwo's speech at the meeting was illogical and lacking in level, except for answering those questions about secret love. But who can guarantee that this wasn't a prearranged draft? I read the article she published some time ago and quickly deleted. It was as watery as that of a primary school student. Could this be her true level? This is the first time I've seen such a website. It can't tell right from wrong just for the sake of traffic. Refund the money. if I recharge again, I'm a dog. You really deserve it. You forced away your own veteran top writer for a plagiarist. As expected, those who do evil will surely come to no good, but some netizens were willing to wait and see. The only way to prove Chin Ruoro now is to let her write on the spot for everyone to see. Otherwise, she's a plagiarist, but Chin Ruoro had always wanted to rely on this book to earn enough traffic and take the self-media route. She had never put in any effort from beginning to end. She posted one refined photo after another on Weibo and was more concerned with the compliments on her beauty. Now the website also realized what had happened, but it couldn't escape the sharp drop in market value and was deeply affected by the backlash of traffic. In a fit of anger, the boss directly fired Li Fei and took Chin Ruoro to various drinking parties to ask for help. It was said that Chin Ruoro was dressed up like a colorful butterfly, and it was hard to comment on the reasons. This website was just trying to make a last-ditch effort. My mother knew about the Shanghai Circle, and she had already asked all her friends to ignore them, and today, coincidentally, the person the boss was trying to ask for help from was my mother. When my mother showed me the invitation message sent by the other party, I almost burst out laughing. Honey, it's time to end this game. How about I just reject him directly and then contact a lawyer to sue? I smiled and stopped my mother. It's okay, Mom. Tell him to let Chin Ruoro come to this drinking party. It's been a long time since I had a good talk with her. A few days later, Chin Ruoro, dressed up carefully, appeared in the hotel lobby, and Shuechen also came as her assistant. At that time, I was feeding the small fish by the rockery in the lobby. From a distance, I heard a sharp shout, Meng Weiwei. Shuechen took the lead and strode over, grabbing my arm. Why are you so persistent and followed us here again? His hand was gripping me so tightly that it hurt. I slapped it back without hesitation. Take your dirty hands away. Is this hotel owned by your family? Are you the only one who can come in? Meng Weiwei. Do you know that this hotel costs 8,888 yuan per person? Do you deserve to stand here? Chin Ruoro simply tore off all her disguises and stared at me with extreme hatred. You're just fated to live in a rental house. Your boyfriend doesn't love you either. You don't deserve anything good in this life. She spared no effort to attack me, thinking that saying these words would make me suffer. However, I just casually said one sentence. Anyway, today I'm standing here as a guest, and you. Could it be that someone invited you to dinner too, you? Chin Ruoro was immediately at a loss for words. Her chest heaved with anger, and she tried to calm down and sneered. A guest? It seems that you came to Shanghai to be someone's mistress. How could such a noble place let someone like you in? Funny. Do you know who I'm here to meet today? Ms. Feng Zhao. If you're ignorant, search it on the internet. I'm afraid your sugar daddy, no matter how powerful, is not as good as one finger of Ms. Feng. Shuechen immediately joined forces with Chin Ruoro in hostility. That's right, Meng Weiwei, don't be overconfident. When you're played with and kicked out, you'll have a hard time. I looked at him expressionlessly. I remembered every word Shuechen said now. Today, I would make sure he came and didn't leave. Soon, something that left these two people dumbfounded appeared. After a while, my mother walked in vigorously with several assistants. Ah, Ms. Feng, I'm Ruoro. I've long admired you. Chin Ruoro immediately greeted her obsequiously to introduce herself, but my mother didn't even look at her. She walked straight up to me, took my hand, and rubbed it in her palm, asking extremely gently, "Are you cold? What are you doing standing at the door? Go in and order. Don't you love this place the most?" Out of the corner of my eye, I saw that Chin Ruoro's expression froze. Ms. Feng. I deliberately imitated Chin Ruoro's tone. You go in first, I'll be there later. My mother understood what I meant. She nodded and specially arranged 2 bodyguards for me before going up the stairs. What's going on? Chin Ruoro immediately looked at Shuechen. Why does she seem to have such a good relationship with Feng Zhao? Could it be that Feng Zhao is her mother? Shuechen frowned and immediately denied it. How could it be? Does Meng Weiwei look like a rich lady with her shabby appearance? I heard that some rich women have very perverted hobbies. Maybe Feng Zhao. After getting older before Shuechen could finish speaking, I had already signaled the bodyguards with my eyes to take him aside and teach him a lesson. What are you doing? Are you going to hit people in broad daylight? I'm going to call the police. Help, come and save me. Shuechen was lifted out like a little chicken. He was soon so frightened that his voice was trembling. I'm here to meet an important person. She won't let you get away with treating me like this. However, these well-trained bodyguards turned a deaf ear. They specifically hit the places under his clothes. using heavy punches to punish his mouth that was full of wild rumors and foul language. Soon, blood oozed from the corner of Xue Chen's mouth. He lay on the ground, dying, like a dead dog, and Qin Ruoro glanced at him and then turned her face away in disgust. This boy was nothing more than a dispensable sycophant in her eyes. She had never been the least bit interested in Xue Chen. "What on earth are you to be able to cling to a rich woman, Meng Weiwei? I never thought you'd stoop so low. You're just playing the weak and pitiful card, aren't you?" Seeing my mother appear on the stairs and about to come down, Qin Ruoro was quick as a flash. She grabbed my hand and slapped herself hard, then she ran towards my mother, crying and shouting, "Ms. Feng, save me. This Meng Weiwei not only plagiarized my work before, but now she's threatening me and attacking me. Please help me." 11. Qin Ruoro's heart-rending cries echoed throughout the entire lobby. She was disheveled, her face deathly pale, and her act was extremely convincing. Anyone who saw her would feel a bit of protective instinct. However, before she could reach my mother's hand, she was mercilessly blocked by the bodyguards. Qin Ruoro couldn't stop herself in time and fell to the ground. "Ms. Feng, please do justice for me. This Meng Weiwei is really hateful. She's not as innocent as she looks, in fact." Privately she "Shut up," my mother spoke sharply. I had never seen her with such a terrifying expression. She glared at Qin Ruoro, a storm raging in her eyes. "So you're Qin Ruoro." Qin Ruoro was so frightened that her breath hitched, but she still didn't give up and weakly said, "Yes, it's me, ma'am. Please don't believe the online rumors. I've been framed." My mother sneered. "Do you know what my relationship with Meng Weiwei is?" Qin Ruoro's expression froze. At the same time, the boss of the website appeared at the hotel entrance at some point. He had clearly rushed over in a hurry, sweating profusely, and his two legs were constantly shaking. He stumbled in, and his voice was even more unpleasant than crying. "I'm sorry, Ms. Feng. I didn't know that Weiwei is your daughter. We were the ones who offended you." 12. At the end of that day, the boss threatened Qin Ruoro with paying an astronomical amount of liquidated damages and ordered her to kowtow to me and admit her mistake. Qin Ruoro was extremely reluctant, and the boss directly forced her head down to the ground. "So it was you, you little bitch, who caused all this trouble." I was wondering how Weiwei, a veteran top writer of our website, could be involved in such a thing. The boss gritted his teeth while rolling his eyes. "You shameless thing, you plagiarized others' creative works because you have no talent of your own. I was so stupid to believe in you. We were all played for fools by you." The more he talked, the angrier he got, and he directly grabbed Qin Ruoro's hair and slapped her twice. Qin Ruoro's face immediately swelled up, and she couldn't hold back and started crying bitterly. The boss immediately cursed. "You still have the nerve to cry. You did it but don't have the guts to admit it. You've smeared the reputation of our website. Who will dare to invest in us in the future? You're really a black sheep. If you don't have the ability, don't take on the task, and you even dared to frame others. I was really blind to have an author like you." I just sneered and watched them fight among themselves. I still remembered clearly what Li Fei, on behalf of the website, had done to me. Now he wanted to get himself off the hook. That was impossible. "You still have the nerve to show up here. Immediately go on Weibo and post an apology statement for me." The boss had obviously come here well prepared. He had already pre-edited a passage of text and forced Qin Ruoro to post it on Weibo, making her admit the fact of her plagiarism and publicly apologize to me. As soon as this Weibo was posted, it quickly set off a hot topic. Facing the finally confirmed truth that they had guessed, netizens were not only indignant but also extremely regretful. It was us who forced away a good author who wrote with her heart. The topics #apologize to Meng Weiwei and #ask Meng Weiwei to come back began to rise continuously. In the square, there were all my former book fans crying and recalling the scene when they first started following my books. Weiwei was really great. She insisted on updating 3 chapters every day. Rain or shine, I was only in primary school at that time, and now I'm almost graduating from high school. I've read every one of her books. At that time, I didn't believe she would plagiarize or hire a ghostwriter. It's so sad. After she stopped writing, there's no substitute on the whole network. My spiritual food is gone. Weiwei, come back quickly. I've saved a lot of monthly tickets for you. I'll give them all to you. The boss presented his phone to my mother as if offering a precious treasure, thinking that my mother would let it go and help him make a comeback. However, facing the boss's calculating eyes, my mother just coldly dropped a sentence. "We've already prepared the evidence, your website, and this girl. just wait for the lawsuit. 13. Not only did Qin Ruoruo lose her reputation, but the story of Xue Chen and me was also sorted out by the fans and then posted. It turned out that Xue Chen had been chasing after Qin Ruoruo for many years and was willing to do anything for his beloved goddess. It was he who single-handedly planned this plagiarizing scheme of substituting the real with the fake. Damn, this scumbag, he's having his cake and eating it too. I thought he was being just, but he was actually helping his white Moonlight harm his own girlfriend. Damn it, is this still a human? He's a beast, he lives off others and harms them at the same time. He's so despicable. These two scumbags should be locked up and die. I've never seen such disgusting people. Sisters, I also found this scumbag's Weibo secondary account. He really has always been a traitor. The online violence and doxing that fell on me in my previous life were now returned to Qin Ruoruo and Xue Chen with even greater intensity, and because they had posted so many Weibo posts, their specific addresses were easily locked down. In my previous life, my boyfriend's white Moonlight plagiarized my novel, which was based on my own secret love story. He soon couldn't bear the burden and was forced to leave the hospital. He realized that licking his white Moonlight would get him nowhere. He tried to contact me several times to reconcile with me, but how could the indignant netizens give him a chance to breathe? He finally couldn't take care of himself. After paying off all the debts and going bankrupt, he slunk back to his hometown with a body full of ailments. As for Qin Ruoruo, her situation was much worse. She had to deal with the lawsuit, bear the huge compensation demanded by the website, and endure the overwhelming online violence. She soon couldn't take it anymore and had a mental breakdown. One late night, when she saw the red paint splashed on the door again, she completely collapsed and jumped off the building. At that time, I, who had learned of all these things, was preparing a new website with my mother. We wanted to give every young person who loves creation an equal opportunity. Here, everyone can fully exert their imagination and write the stories they want to write. Let 100 flowers bloom and everyone speak freely. I think this is what literary creation should really be like. Story 2. For 10 years, I was treated like a pet canary. He never promised me a wedding until the day I died. When I opened my eyes again, I was back 10 years earlier. To avoid the same nightmare, the first thing I did after my rebirth was to seek out his future archenemy. At that time, he was just a struggling mechanic. I slammed my bank card on the table. Marry me, and I'll give you my salary after we're married. He gritted his teeth and replied, if you pay me 3,000 a month, I'll agree. 1. I proposed to Jiang Jia. At that moment, he had a cigarette in his mouth. What do you see in me? I thought hard and managed to squeeze out, handsome, heh. His laugh made my face turn red, and I bravely asked, so, do you agree? Jiang Jia didn't speak, he just stared straight at me, as if he could see right through my little scheme. I met his gaze, hoping he could see my sincerity. After a long while, he smiled. Casually, he replied, a bride delivered right to my doorstep. Why wouldn't I agree? So, I got married. On the second day after I traveled back, holding the little red marriage booklet, I still felt a deep sense of unreality. In my past life, I had actually met Jiang Jia. It was in the 7th year of being confined by Su Che. I had escaped from the villa, penniless. On the streets, I met Jiang Jia. By then, he was already a renowned businessman, dressed sharply. He exuded an aura of unapproachability. I begged him to save me. Jiang Jia arranged a place for me to stay and provided a ticket for me to leave. However, later on, I was still found by Su Che. Not wanting to recall that past, I looked up at Jiang Jia and asked, where to next? Taking you home. I was startled. Aren't we married? So you didn't plan to take me home? 2. Jiang Jia lived in an unopened residential area. The building was not yet completed. It was bustling with construction workers. I used to move bricks here. Got a bit of a rapport with the contractor, so I stay here rent-free before it's handed over, he explained. Perhaps noticing the confusion in my eyes, the house was in a raw industrial style. Apart from a military bunk, there was nothing else inside. The bathroom lacked even a flushing toilet, just a tap for bathing. Jiang Jia looked at me. Regrets? You can still run away now. No regrets. I placed my luggage aside. We'll sleep here tonight. Isn't the bed a bit small? Jiang Jia squinted and responded, it's enough. At night, I lay on Jiang Jia's military bunk. He casually spread a couple of newspapers on the floor and lay down. The room had no curtains, and through the glass, the bright moonlight was visible. Jiang Jia, are you asleep? Worried that he would catch cold sleeping on the floor, I moved to one side of the bunk. Do you want to come up here? the bed is small, but we can manage if we squeeze in a bit. A few seconds later, Jeonjia finally replied, if I come over. Don't expect to get any sleep. I clutched the blanket tighter. I don't mind. As soon as I finished speaking, Jeonjia, like a beast unleashed, flipped over and pounced on me. I didn't react in time and instinctively turned my head away. The weight on me lightened, and through the moonlight, I saw a mocking look on Jeonjia's face. Don't say things you don't mean. I'm a straightforward person and tend to take things seriously. After saying that, he moved to lie back on the newspaper, seeing his intention. I grabbed the hem of his shirt in one swift motion. My fingers touched his body through the gap. Jeonjia shivered all over, looking at me with a complex expression in his eyes. I bit my lip hard. I really am willing, afraid that he would refuse. I daringly scratched inside a little. Jeonjia's eyes darkened. Now, you've lost your chance. Unlike Suche, who deliberately worked out in the gym to build his muscles, Jeonjia, who worked year-round, had a naturally tanned and firm body. Full of strength. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and cried convulsively until he stopped. He roughly kissed away my tears and called me delicate in a dissatisfied tone. Already in severe pain, he didn't offer comfort but instead criticized me for no reason. I was upset, turned over, and didn't want to look at him. He didn't bother with me either and got out of bed to do who knows what. I hugged the blanket, feeling more aggrieved as I thought about it. In my past life, Suche kept me like a canary for 10 years. Only in death did I find liberation. I thought it was divine mercy, giving me a chance to start over. But Jeonjia seemed like a completely different person. As I was crying, suddenly a hot towel covered my face. Jeonjia had returned at some point, holding a basin and a hot towel. You've been crying. I denied it. No. Jeonjia roughly wiped my face, then turned to wring out the towel. What are you doing? There's no hot water in the house. Can't bathe, so this will make you feel a bit better. I was indeed feeling sticky. Putting aside my anger, I blushed and tried to grab the towel. I can do it myself. Stay put. Jeonjia ignored my attempt, lifted the blanket, and placed the steaming towel on me. After a while, I heard Jeonjia's voice. Don't be mad. I'll be gentler next time. Okay. His voice had a hint of awkwardness. The warmth on my face slowly increased and I curled the corners of my mouth upward. I then covered my face with the blanket. The next day when I woke up, Jeonjia was already dressed neatly. There were 2 buns on the low table. I didn't know when he had gone out to buy them. The hot water is ready. I'll take you to work after you wash up. No need, I can go by myself. Jeonjia glanced at me. There are a lot of workers around here. It's not safe for you alone, he added. Call me after work, I'll pick you up. It took me a while to finish washing up before I noticed the bank card on the table. It was the one I gave to Jeonjia when I proposed to him yesterday. Don't forget the card, I said. Jeonjia glanced at it. Keep it yourself. I'm not so broke as to use a woman's money. Liar. He was clearly broke. Jeonjia didn't take it, and I didn't argue. I figured maybe I could use the savings in the card to change houses first. If Jeonjia didn't agree, at least we could get a new bed. Though it wasn't the golden house of my previous life, looking at Jeonjia gave me a sense of inexplicable security. This good mood lasted until I got to work. As soon as I entered the office, Lu Ying came over with a mysterious air. Xiaoxi, I have good news for you. She lowered her voice. My cousin has taken a fancy to you. Me. She mysteriously pulled me aside. My cousin is no ordinary man. He's super handsome and has a good personality, graduated from Cambridge. And his father is the richest man. Many wealthy heiresses have tried to get close to him, but he never cared. Yesterday, he suddenly asked me to set him up on a blind date with you. Lu Ying's eyes sparkled. Sister, your good days are coming. Graduated from Cambridge. Father is the richest man. A name suddenly popped into my mind. My face turned pale. I controlled my expression and declined as calmly as possible. I might have to apologize to your cousin. I'm not so fortunate. I'm married. Lu Ying didn't believe it. We've been colleagues for a year, and you've never even mentioned a partner. How could you suddenly be married? Really, we've registered. We haven't had the wedding yet, but I'll send you an invitation when we do. I smiled. I have classes soon. I better head to the classroom. After saying that, I quickly left. Not until I stepped out did I feel like I had lost all my strength. Suche. He wasn't supposed to appear at this time in my last life. Why did he show up so much earlier? And how did he know I was teaching at the same school as Lu Ying? My hands and feet turned cold. I comforted myself. In this lifetime, I'm already married. I already have Jeonjia. I will definitely not make the same mistakes again. Suche's premature arrival definitely affected my mood. I was distracted all day, my right eyelid kept twitching. It felt like something was about to happen. Sure enough, just as I was leaving school after work, I saw a black car parked at the gate. The car emblem was conspicuous. Seeing me, the man in the car stepped out, holding a bunch of roses. "Miss Chen," he called out to me, introducing himself with a smile. "Sorry to disturb you. I am Suche, Lu Ying's cousin." Outside, the school was filled with students and parents picking up their children. Suche's bouquet of roses was both striking and bold. Some people recognized me and began to lead applause. They cheered, urging me to accept him. My face turned pale. "What do you want? Don't be nervous. I just wanted to get to know you," Suche said with a slight smirk. "I happened to see you once while waiting for Lu Ying and took an immediate liking to you. So today I came uninvited. Don't feel pressured. Just think of it as making a new friend." Even though Suche acted convincingly, I still sensed a hint of madness in his eyes. Feeling helpless, I suddenly spotted Jiang Jie in the corner. He was straddling a beaten-up motorcycle, a cigarette dangling from his lips, and he was glancing at me with a detached air. It was as if a drowning person had finally spotted a lifeline, and I rushed towards him. The familiar scent of motor oil on Jiang Jie helped me regain my composure. I turned to Suche and said, "I've already explained to Lu Ying that I'm married." Suche clearly didn't expect that I was married. His smile froze, his gaze drifted to Jiang Jie, and a flash of hatred appeared in his eyes. He masked it quickly, but I caught it sharply. But why hatred? This was his first time meeting Jiang Jie. Why would he feel hatred? Suche quickly masked his expression and adjusted his mood. I was presumptuous, not having looked into Miss Chen's personal circumstances beforehand. "Since I've already bought the flowers, I won't take them back. Let me just wish you a happy marriage." Then he extended them towards me. "Flowers for a beautiful lady. I hope your husband doesn't mind." Before I could speak, Jiang Jie suddenly laughed. "Who says I don't mind?" He looked at Suche. "I'm petty and can't stand seeing my beautiful wife accepting gifts from someone else." After saying that, Jiang Jie placed a pink helmet on my head. "Put it on." Looking at the brand new helmet, I inexplicably felt better. I couldn't help but ask, "Did you buy this especially for me?" "Picked it up from the trash," I grinned. "Next time, can you pick up a blue one? I like blue." Jiang Jie raised an eyebrow. Pretending to take the helmet back, I hurriedly tightened it and tapped my finger on it twice. "Does it look good?" Jiang Jie's eyes twinkled with amusement as he pulled down the front visor of the helmet. Then he said, "Idiot." Turning around, Suche had already left. After today's incident, everyone knew my husband was a mechanic. During the break, I overheard a few teachers discussing, "He may be handsome, but he still ended up with that kind of husband. Did you see his motorcycle? It's so beat up, sounds like a tractor." Then everyone burst into laughter. Seeing me enter, someone deliberately asked, "Xiaoxi, where does your husband fix cars?" "My husband just bought a Mercedes. We'll bring it to him for maintenance to support his business." "Sure. I'll send you the address later." Lu Ying couldn't stand it anymore and dragged me out of the office. "Are you out of your mind? They're mocking you to your face, and you don't talk back. You're attractive and have a decent job. Why would you settle for?" Lu Ying paused, then spoke frankly. "Don't take this the wrong way, but you were just deceived fresh out of college. You always think love can outweigh the need for bread, but you'll regret it later. Honestly, consider my cousin. He doesn't mind that you've been married before." "Lu Ying, that's a nice bag," I interrupted Lu Ying, my gaze landing on the Hermes on her desk. "Is it new?" Lu Ying paused, her face flushing slightly. "Yeah." Lu Ying is just a salaried worker. It was clear who gave her the bag and why. I didn't press further. "My husband and I are doing well. How we live our lives is our business. Let's not talk about him anymore. I don't like it." That day after work, Jiang Jie surprisingly didn't come on his motorcycle. "Where's your bike?" "I sold it." Jiang Jie didn't elaborate, just hooked up the corner of his mouth and said, "Let's go." He pulled me along, but in a different direction than usual. I wasn't sure what Jiang Jie was up to, but after walking about a few hundred meters, we stopped near a residential area close to my school. "Third floor. Let's go up and have a look." I had a hunch but couldn't quite believe it. Reluctantly, I made my way to the third floor where the door of the middle apartment was wide open. Stepping inside, I found a cozy two-bedroom apartment. It was small, but the decor was exceptionally warm. The curtains, the color of the sky, fluttered slightly in the breeze. The setting sun poured through the window, filling the room with a golden glow. He remembered I liked blue. I can't describe how I felt. I've lived 2 lifetimes. In luxurious villas and in rundown bare shell buildings, but at that moment, my heart seemed to be filled with joy. You sold the motorbike to rent this place. Homes in the school district, though old, were not cheap. Jiangjia's finances probably couldn't cover the hefty rent, not mentioning the motorcycle. He simply said, "It's close to your school, makes commuting easier. Besides, the other place didn't have hot water, you couldn't have handled that." Before he could finish, I turned and hugged Jiangjia's waist, taken aback by my sudden embrace. He paused for a moment before his arms wrapped around my back. "All right, it's not time for tears yet, cry for me tonight, okay?" It wasn't serious. That night, Jiangjia indeed made me cry, and as he held me, he kissed the corner of my mouth, his face radiating contentment. My wife was right, a double bed is indeed much better than a single. We should have moved earlier. When did I ever say that? I held back, resisting the urge to kick him out. The next day, a weekend, Jiangjia and I had planned to go get some things from the old bare shell house, but in the afternoon, Jiangjia hadn't returned home. "I might not make it today, there's some trouble at the factory," he called to tell me. I didn't think much of it. "Then I'll go alone." It wasn't much, just a suitcase. Jiangjia's place was in disarray, and I didn't catch his response before hanging up. Jiangjia never used to let me go there alone. The situation arose mainly because there were too many workers around, and Jiangjia always felt unsafe. However, since it was broad daylight, picking something up seemed harmless. Unexpectedly, as soon as I entered the room, 3 or 4 workers followed me in. "Is the young lady living here by herself?" A chill ran through my heart. "Who are you? Get out. We work here. How can we just leave?" The leader among them laughed. "We've seen you hanging around here like a man, having quite the wild time. How about you join us for some fun?" The room was too empty, and I couldn't find anything to defend myself with. Gritting my teeth, I turned and ran towards the outside. The man reacted quickly, grabbing my hair and throwing me to the ground. "You have a nice figure. I've been craving you for a long time, waiting for today." As he spoke, he pressed down on me. I struggled desperately, screaming wildly. Just as his hand was about to touch my clothes, the door was suddenly kicked open. The man on top of me was struck and fell to the ground. The other 2 workers moved to help. "I'm the developer of this place. Are you sure you want to mess with me?" The 3 men looked at each other, assessing the truth of that statement. After a moment, they cursed and ran off. Suche took off his suit jacket and covered me with it, then spoke to his assistant standing by. "Find these people, and handle it as you see fit." The assistant nodded and left. Suche then looked down. "Do you remember me?" My hand tightened around the fabric. "I don't." Returning the jacket to him, I picked up my suitcase. "Thanks for your help today." As I walked past him, Suche suddenly grabbed my wrist. "You seem very afraid of me." "We're not close. Why should I be afraid of you?" "That's true." Suche released me. "What brings you here?" "If I'm not mistaken, this building isn't even finished yet." "It's none of your business." "True, but I'm the developer of this land." Suche stared at me. "What if I sue Jiangjia for illegal residency, using that as a pretext?" "What do you really want?" "I want you." Suche made no effort to hide his intentions. "Chen Xiaoxi, I've told you from the start, I want you. I've also said, I'm married." "That's not my concern." I pressed my lips tightly together. He bent down to meet my gaze. "That man can't give you the life you desire. You're a pearl that shouldn't be gathering dust in his hands. It's your choice whether you want your man to end up in jail, or to live a superior life with me." I tightened my grip on my suitcase and turned to leave. This time, Suche didn't stop me, until I was out of the neighborhood. Only then did I realize my whole body was trembling uncontrollably. 3 workers following me inside, and Suche's timely heroic rescue. I simply couldn't believe this was all a coincidence. Living this life again, Suche was still the same. Anything he desired, he would stop at nothing to obtain. I called Jiangjia several more times. No one was answering on the other side. It wasn't until the sky began to darken that I sensed something was amiss. Since our marriage, Jiangjia had never come home this late. I rushed directly to the factory where he worked. The place was in complete disarray. I stopped an uncle who was cleaning. "Do you know where Jiangjia is?" "Little Jiang. He's gone to the hospital." I was stunned, wondering why he would be at a hospital. The uncle shook his head. "It's a misfortune. He encountered some unreasonable thugs." By the time I got the address and arrived at the hospital, Jiangjia was already being wheeled out of the examination room. His face bore 2 streaks of blood, and his right arm was secured with a plaster cast. His muddy clothes were spotted with red. My tears couldn't be held back any longer. "Jiangjia, why are you here? He walked over and wiped my face with his other hand. There, I'm not dead, am I? No need for tears, even at a time like this. He still spoke so lightly. I felt a bit annoyed and was about to speak when I suddenly heard someone exclaim, "Holy shit, brother Jia, your wife is gorgeous, like a fairy." Then he muttered, "No wonder you don't hang out with us at night anymore. If I had a wife this beautiful, I wouldn't go out either." It was then that I noticed a young man standing behind Jiang Jia. He was young and staring straight at me. His gaze was clear, making him hard to dislike. His frank compliment made me somewhat embarrassed, yet Jiang Jia, in a good mood, curved his lips and said, "Stay away from my wife." After asking the doctor and learning that besides a minor fracture in the right hand, all other injuries were superficial, I felt somewhat relieved. "How did you get hurt like this?" Before Jiang Jia could speak, the boy blurted out, "We ran into an unreasonable jerk today. There was nothing wrong with the car," but he insisted that Jia had messed it up and demanded compensation. Of course, we disagreed, so he brought a bunch of guys to smash up the shop. "Didn't you call the police?" "What's the use? That guy clearly has connections, a license plate with 5/8. Only someone with power and money could afford that." 5/8. Suddenly something clicked. "What kind of car was it?" "A black Hummer." The boy continued to sigh. "Now that we've angered such a big shot, what are we going to do?" "Jia, do you think the boss will hold this against us?" I didn't catch what was said next. All I could see was darkness before my eyes. It was Suche again. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my cheek. I winced in pain and looked directly into Jiang Jia's teasing eyes. Seeing his carefree demeanor, I felt puzzled. "Aren't you worried?" "Worried about what?" "About, you know, what comes next." Jiang Jia scoffed. "Worst comes to worst, I'll just quit. What can they really do to me?" Then he smirked. "Besides, I still have my wife to support me. 3,000 a month, handing over my salary, right?" He was referring to when I proposed to him. My cheeks flushed again. With a soft I said, "I'll give you all my money." Jiang Jia flicked my forehead with his finger and called me a fool. Jiang Jia was fired. I overheard the garage owner on the phone with him saying, "I'm sorry about this, but the other party is too influential, and I'm powerless." Jiang Jia, smoking a cigarette, was expressionless. After hanging up the phone, he called out to me, "Wife." I thought he was going to discuss his dismissal with me. Just as I was thinking about how to comfort him, he said, "I think I smell bad, help me take a bath." I was puzzled. Looking up, I saw no signs of dejection in Jiang Jia. "And now a bath." My face turned a deep red. "Why do you always think about these things?" "What things?" Jiang Jia raised an eyebrow. "I just need help with the bath water because I can't get my right hand wet due to the cast." Then he whispered in my ear, "Or, do you have other ideas? Speak them out. Even if it costs me an arm, I'd go to great lengths to satisfy you." Annoyed and embarrassed, I forgot about his unemployment and stormed off to the bathroom. I could still hear his cheerful laughter behind me. However, during the bath, Jiang Jia noticed something that happened to me during the day. His hand gently gripped my neck, and he frowned. "What happened here?" Only then did I notice the blood mark and several clear scratch marks on my neck, likely from struggling earlier in the day. I hastily covered it with my hair. "It was an accident." Jiang Jia scoffed. "You accidentally choked and scratched yourself." Unable to hide it, I confessed. "I went to the unfinished building to get something and someone followed me." Seeing Jiang Jia's face darken instantly, I quickly explained, "But nothing bad happened, someone saved me." Jiang Jia didn't respond. We stood frozen in place. In the cramped bathroom, the steamy mist faded, and a chill brushed against our skins. I shivered. Jiang Jia then realized and wrapped me in a towel. I tugged at his hand. "Are you angry? I shouldn't have let you go alone." Regret and concern were evident in his eyes, but the fault was clearly mine. I couldn't hold back anymore and blurted out everything I knew. "It was all Suche's doing. He's the one who sent roses to me at school. The Hummer was his. He deliberately smashed the shop to trouble you. And he was the one who waited to rescue me. He even knew where we lived and said he would sue you. I don't know why he's so fixated on me. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, I couldn't continue," and broke down sobbing. I wanted to cry out all the grievances of my past and present. I never provoked Suche. Why won't he let me go? Seeing my distress, Jiang Jia wiped my face with a towel. "Why do you always shed tears so easily? Aren't you mad at me?" "Mad at you for what?" "For being beautiful. For having a charm that thieves can't resist on the street." How could he? His words dissipated the heavy emotions I felt, and I sniffled. "Jiang Jia, do you regret it?" I asked. "Regret what?" marrying me. Instead of answering, Jiangjia countered, what about you? Do you regret marrying a mechanic who had nothing and now has even lost his job? I shook my head vigorously. If my wife doesn't regret it, why should I give a damn? He replied. A smile touched the corners of Jiangjia's eyes. My wife, not even impressed by the richest son, chose a nobody like me. She's willing to be with me, even if it means pitching in financially. What do I have to complain about? Hearing this, I felt tears welling up again. In fact, I did start crying. I nestled into Jiangjia's embrace. I love you. Jiangjia stiffened, not expecting my declaration. He pulled me tightly against him and with a hoarse voice, he murmured, your man is right here. After that day, Jiangjia became very busy. Despite being jobless, he was out early and came back late every day. I didn't know what he was up to, but it was probably also because he was shaken up by something that had happened to Su Che. Even though we moved next to the school, he insisted on picking me up and dropping me off every day. Just stay with the other teachers at school and don't wander around. Got it? I felt like laughing. I'm not a kindergarten kid. I'm not that fragile. Jiangjia grinned, but you are to me. Lately, though. Jiangjia's social obligations seemed to have increased. Sometimes, when he couldn't make it, he asked a colleague he met at the hospital to help out. Feeling embarrassed, I told the guy, it's just a short distance, I can walk on my own, don't bother next time. That won't do. The guy grinned. I've sworn to complete the task Jiangjia gave me. Besides, a fairy like you needs to be looked after. Unable to persuade the guy, I turned to Jiangjia. Keep this up, and everyone will start calling you a henpecked husband. Jiangjia didn't seem to mind and retorted, I love pampering my wife. What's it to them? It left me both crying and laughing. Then, one day at work, Lu Ying pulled me aside, looking all secretive, and showed me her phone. Isn't this your husband? I looked and saw Jiangjia drinking with a woman who was strikingly beautiful. Besides Jiangjia, there were 4 or 5 men around the woman. The room was dimly lit, and Jiangjia's expression was unclear, but it was indeed him. My friend snapped this at the bar, and I thought the guy looked like him. Lu Ying said, watching me closely, I heard he got fired from the garage and now he's just a thug. Look at him, reduced to entertaining women for drinks. Is this your so-called true love? You better watch out, don't catch any diseases. Are you done? I asked, my face darkening. Lu Ying, you keep badmouthing my husband, taking photos, and stirring up trouble to push us toward divorce. You know very well what your intentions are. What exactly did Su Che offer you to? Just because I don't say anything doesn't mean I don't understand. From now on, unless it's about work, please don't come to see me alone. After saying this, I walked into the office. A little while later, Lu Ying entered. Her eyes were red. I faintly heard some colleagues comforting her, suggesting that I was ungrateful. That evening, Jiangjia came home very late. You just got back? Yes, I sniffed. You've been drinking. Jiangjia playfully rubbed his face against mine. Are you annoyed with me? Huh. I dodged with a laugh, and Jiangjia pulled me into his arms, sighed deeply. You've had it tough these days. I hugged him back and shook my head. The next morning, I noticed a scent of perfume on Jiangjia's shirt. There was a faint lipstick mark on the cuff. Thinking of the photo Lu Ying showed me, my heart felt sour. If possible, I would rather Jiangjia were just a mechanic. Days went by like this, but I never expected that one day, I would actually catch Jiangjia with another woman. That day I was out shopping with some fellow teachers. We passed by an expensive Western restaurant. Suddenly, a teacher tugged at my bag and asked uncertainly, Xiaoxi, doesn't that man look a bit like your husband? I looked over, and the man was sitting by the window. Opposite him was a woman with meticulous makeup. My heart sank. It wasn't just a resemblance, it was him. I looked pale, and my colleagues, sensing something was wrong, forced a laugh. It must be a business meeting. They seemed to be talking normally. I just hummed, not wanting to look anymore. Let's go. As I turned around, my colleague suddenly screamed and grabbed me. Xiaoxi, your husband. My heart tightened. Then I heard her say, he hit that woman. Me. I turned back quickly, just in time to see Jiangjia had flipped the table over. He looked down disdainfully at the pale-faced woman, his mouth curled in mockery. I hurried over, just in time to hear Jiangjia say, with that look of yours, still coveting me, what are you thinking? Then he walked out imposingly, and we locked eyes. The man, who had just been as proud as a little lion, didn't expect to see me and immediately deflated. Wife. Then he frowned and began to explain, I don't hit women. It was just an accident. My legs are long. I accidentally knocked over the table. I burst out laughing. I'm not blaming you. Jiangjia breathed a sigh of relief. His lips twitched as he took my hand. Shall we go home then? It was only when we got home that I learned that Jiangjia had been dealing with Su Che's sister these days. Her sales job was just a cover. She actually wanted to get close to his sister. Jiangjia scoffed. Su Jiejia, she's quite wild, especially likes young men. And has done plenty of ridiculous things privately. I got close to her recently, reached out to their dark connections, and got a lot of information. They sold everything to their rival company. It's expected to make the headlines tomorrow. Although it's not a significant event, it's enough to throw the Su family into chaos for a while. With the Su family busy cleaning up their mess, Su Che probably won't have time to bother you. You did all this just to keep Su Che off my back. In a few days, I might need to go to Shenzhen. I won't be at ease if I don't block Su Che's path. Hearing that Jiangjia was leaving, I immediately felt reluctant to let him go. Why are you suddenly going out? How long will you be gone? Maybe a week or so. If this trip goes well, I might have to travel frequently in the future, so. What Jiangjia was actually busy with all this time was a transport company. I got to know some routes while fixing cars, rented a few trucks to start with some runs. I didn't know much at first and had to do everything myself. He rubbed my head vigorously. Wait for me to come back. On the day Jiangjia left, I still slipped my bank card into his pocket. It contained 70,000 yuan. All the savings I had amassed over the years, my entire fortune. I left a note. You should always carry money when you're outside. The pin is our birthdays. Come back safely. After Jiangjia went on his business trip, the affair concerning Su Jiejia indeed hit the headlines, manipulated by others. It even dragged out other issues, a major scandal among the elite, sparking fervent public discussion. Su Che, stretched too thin, indeed did not show up again. My days became easier. At the end of the term, the selection for outstanding teachers began. Each school had only one spot. Based on preliminary research, the school had planned to nominate me, but on the day the results were announced, the name listed was Lu Ying. The school leadership was in a difficult position and talked to me, saying it was directed from above. Everyone understood the underlying reasons. Leaving the principal's office, I saw Lu Ying. Since the photo incident, we had little contact. Lu Ying hummed lightly beside me and walked past without saying anything. Initially, this didn't cause any ripples in my heart, but later that night, while video calling with Jiangjia, I couldn't hold back my grievances. I pouted, trying hard not to cry. Jiangjia noticed something was off. What's wrong? Not wanting to worry him, I said. Just watched a movie that made me feel choked up. Jiangjia chuckled. Silly. After hanging up, I vigorously slapped my own face, mocking myself for regressing. In my previous life, my father was wrongfully imprisoned. My mother was driven to severe illness, and I never shed a tear. Yet now, over such a trivial matter, I ended up crying in front of Jiangjia. In the middle of the night, just as I was dozing off, I suddenly heard the sound of the door lock. My heart tightened, worried it might be Su Che causing trouble. I picked up a baseball bat and stood behind the door, waiting. The next second, the door opened. I swung the baseball bat. The person seemed prepared, caught it with a countermove. And then I heard a familiar teasing voice. What? Keeping a lover outside, ready to murder your own husband? Surprised. Honey, how did you come back? My wife is feeling down. As her husband, I should be at home with her. How did you know I was feeling down? I'm not clueless. Did you really think your acting could fool me? The tears I had been holding back fell once again. Jiangjia sighed. Such a crybaby. Jiangjia came back just for one night and left early the next morning on the high-speed train. I didn't want him to go. He kissed my forehead. I've already registered the company in Shenzhen recently. You can come and see me during the summer break. I nodded vigorously and began to count the days on my fingers. Half a month passed. School was out. I couldn't wait and bought a ticket to Shenzhen. It was only when Jiangjia drove me to his company that I realized it was different from what I had imagined. I thought Jiangjia was just involved in regular transportation, managing a few trucks, but when I actually saw it, I realized it was a logistics company integrating e-commerce and express delivery services. It wasn't very large, but it had already taken on a lot of business. I was so surprised I couldn't speak. How did you come up with this idea? I remember in my previous life, Jiangjia never came to Shenzhen. He was just an ordinary mechanic, later recognized by a foreign enterprise boss and jumped to a multinational automotive group. Then he left to lead his own research and development team, specializing in chip development. That's where he made his first pot of gold. Gradually, the business of automotive chips grew larger, and now, Jiangjia's fate has changed because of me. He left the repair shop earlier than planned and never had the chance to meet that boss. He even moved to Shenzhen to start a logistics business. The e-commerce industry has been growing rapidly here in Shenzhen in recent years, and logistics is a gap in the market. Since I know a bit about cars, I invested the money I made previously into this to give it a try. What Jiangjia didn't mention was that although we lived in Ban City before, the leading enterprises there were still dominated by the Su family-led group. In that environment, the resistance he would face in starting a business was imaginable. He had to venture out for my sake. On one hand, I felt sorry for him, but I couldn't help but admire his foresight, because I believe that the logistics company Jiangjia started will surely become an indispensable link in the e-commerce sector of Shenzhen. Jiangjia had rented an apartment in advance. It was a small 2-bedroom, about the same size as our house in Ban City but 3 times the price. The cost of living is high here. And all my money has gone into the company, Jiangjia said with a rare hint of embarrassment. I've used the money in your account. It was yours to begin with. Jiangjia kissed the corner of my mouth. In the future, my salary will all be yours. The company was registered, and naturally, he couldn't keep running back and forth. I didn't have much affection for Ban City. After discussing with Jiangjia, I decided to resign and move to Shenzhen. I stayed until the school term started, then went back to school to handle my resignation. By then, Jiangjia's logistics company had begun to take shape, and as a pioneering entrepreneur, he was even invited for a few interviews. An old colleague who once talked about getting Jiangjia to maintain a Mercedes-Benz came over to greet me when she saw me. We saw your husband on TV the other day. I always said Jiangjia had potential, and look, he's really made something of himself now. Another colleague joined in. We must say, Xiaoxi has unique insight. If you know any other outstanding young people, you should introduce them to us too. I scanned the crowd gathered around me. They were the same group who had talked behind Jiangjia's back that year. I didn't want to have too much to do with them. Just as I was about to exit the school gates, I suddenly heard someone calling my name. It was Lu Ying, dressed in a black uniform skirt. She quickly approached me. Her tone was somewhat stiff as she immediately said, I previously took advantage of some small benefits to pair you up with my cousin, and I owe you an apology. I pursed my lips. No need to apologize to me. Wait, Lu Ying grabbed my hand. Xiaoxi, I'm sorry, I was forced to do it. After hearing those words, I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I found myself lying on a bed. The mattress was soft. The room was spacious, with roses blooming outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. This was the villa I had lived in for 10 years. My mind was momentarily confused. I couldn't distinguish the events of these 2 lives. Could it be that I hadn't died? Was I still in the villa, and everything had just been a dream? While I was lost in my thoughts, the door to the room was pushed open. Su Che entered. Awake, I subconsciously tried to get up, only to find myself completely weak and unable to muster any strength. Stop struggling, you can't move. I thought of Lu Ying before I passed out. Is it you, Su Che? Do you realize that depriving someone of their freedom is illegal? After I spoke, Su Che burst out laughing as if he had heard a joke. Depriving freedom? Chen Xiaoxi, you were always mine. He approached me, his eyes filled with obsessive madness. You don't understand. We have always been a couple, living right here. At that moment, I finally understood why, despite my careful avoidance, I still couldn't escape Su Che. It turns out, he was reborn too. I calmed down completely. Always a couple, Su Che. Every day I spent with you felt like an eternity. It was worse than death. If it hadn't been for your threats about my parents, why would I ever live here with you? Hearing my words, his face filled with shock. You, that's right. I remember everything from before. I looked at Su Che. So in this lifetime, I won't give you any chance to hurt me again. How could I bear to hurt you? No, Xiaoxi, you love me. We were together for 10 years. It was my fault. I shouldn't have left you alone in that villa. Otherwise you wouldn't have. He didn't finish his sentence, but I knew. He meant to say otherwise I wouldn't have died. Hearing this, I wanted to laugh. Su Che, don't you understand why after my parents died, I still stayed by your side? It was because I was gathering evidence. To avenge my parents, I have to see you go to prison. How else could I be satisfied? You wanted to know why your company's secrets were leaked, why those dirty deeds you thought were perfect were known to the police. It was all because of me. My goal is to make you pay for your crimes. Enough, not enough. I decided to spill it all at once. After you went to prison, the fire was set by me. I wanted you to lose everything, including everything you touched. The already tainted me. Why did I love you so much, in my previous life? I refused Suche's pursuit. He tricked my father into taking a high-interest loan and then forced me to be with him. My father didn't want me to suffer and turned himself in. My mother, overwhelmed with anger and deteriorating health, was cut off from medical resources by Suche, forcing me to move into the villa. I looked at Suche and coldly laughed. Love, you don't even deserve to speak of it. After saying that, I got up from the bed, moving my restricted limbs. Suche was stunned. How can I move? I looked at him emotionlessly. In my last life, you drugged me, causing me to lose my honor to you. How could I make the same mistake twice? With that, I signaled outside. Hidden police officers broke through the door. Suche was frantic, still pleading with me. Xiaoxi, let's forget everything and start over. Okay, I don't care about what you did, I forgive you, I said softly as I saw Jiangjia slowly appearing at the door. I quickly ran over. As I passed by Suche, I whispered, but I don't forgive you. Suche was taken away, feeling as if all my strength had left me. I collapsed into Jiangjia's arms. Husband, is there anything you want to ask me? Jiangjia shook his head. It's all in the past. Yes, it was all in the past. All the rights and wrongs had nothing to do with me anymore. From now on, I am simply Jiangjia's wife. When you have time, can we go visit my parents? I asked. Jiangjia smiled slightly and replied, sure. From the first day of my rebirth, I found an excuse to have my parents leave Bin City and return to their rural hometown. They retired early, and life was quite comfortable. They didn't know about my marriage to Jiangjia, and I didn't dare tell them. During the new year, Jiangjia brought lots of goods to my parents' house to celebrate the new year and, incidentally, to ask for their blessing for our marriage. In March of the same year, we finally held our wedding, having lived 2 lifetimes. It was the first time I wore a wedding dress. Jiangjia's parents had passed away, and he had grown up without any relatives. Only my parents came from both sides. As the man bowed and served tea, calling out Mom and Dad, I clearly saw the tears in his eyes. Somehow, I suddenly thought of my previous life. When I died, Jiangjia was nearly 40 and still alone. He had never been involved in any scandals. He seemed more like a celestial being, pure and detached from earthly desires. If you hadn't married me, what kind of wife would you have looked for? I couldn't help but ask Jiangjia that night. I don't know. Jiangjia pondered for a moment. Maybe I wouldn't have looked for anyone. I got used to being alone. Then why did you accept my proposal? Hearing this, Jiangjia seemed to reminisce. Something came to mind, and he smiled. He said, at that time, I thought having someone else would be nice. Moreover, a beautiful wife like you. I widened my eyes. So, were you swayed by my looks? Probably not, since you also had the bank card. Jiangjia tried not to laugh. I was tempted by the money, too. Seeing me pout, Jiangjia kissed me on the forehead. Thank you, wife, for giving me a home. No, it should be me thanking Jiangjia. Living twice, I finally found true love.